What is the Sue Gray report? It's an investigation into whether the PM partied whilst the laws he created said you couldn't meet anyone, and it's being led by a lady called Sue Gray, and it has the power to bring down the government of the UK. 16 parties have been investigated, and as of the 25th of March, another party has appeared in the newspapers. 126 fines have been issued to people inside Number 10, the party capital of COVID. So in this video we're going to look at that report and what it actually had to say about the parties that took place. It'll give us a good idea of what actually happened. But first I thought, actually, let's just hear the Prime Minister deny and deny and deny all these reports, and I'm going to add in photos of what he attended and what took place, which was contained in the Sue Gray report. Let's have a listen.
What I can tell the right honourable gentleman is that all guidance was followed completely during Number 10.
So when you and your colleagues in government saw Boris Johnson say none of the rules had been broken,
we were watching it all live and we just sort of looked at each other in disbelief, like, why? Why is he denying this? When we've been with him this entire time, we knew that the rules had been broken. We knew these parties happened.
Well, I want to repeat that the guidance is there, and I'm, very, very keen that people understand this.
Was it a party where the guidelines were followed, or was it not a party?
I can tell you that the guidelines were followed at all times.
Well, did you investigate that yourself? Have you satisfied yourself that that is the case?
I have satisfied myself that the guidelines were followed at all times.
I've just seen reports on Twitter that there was a Downing Street Christmas party on Friday night. Do you recognise those reports?
I went home. Hold on.
Would the Prime Minister condone having a Christmas party?
What's the answer?
Will the Prime Minister tell the House whether there was a party in Downing Street on the 13th of November?
No, but I'm sure that whatever happened, the guidance was followed and the rules were followed at all times. I understand and share the anger up and down the country at seeing Number 10 staff seeming to make light of lockdown measures. And I can understand how infuriating it must be to think that the people who have been setting the rules have not been following the rules, Mr. Speaker, because I was also furious to see that clip.
I know that today Allegra Stratton has resigned, and I wanted to pay tribute to her. All the evidence I can see is that people in this building have stayed within the rules. If that turns out not to be the case, and people wish to bring allegations to my attention or to the police or whoever, then of course there will be a proper sanction.
and now it emerges that you hosted a Christmas party quiz with groups of people in various rooms in Number 10 when such things were banned. Have you asked Simon Case to investigate you?
I can tell you once again that I certainly broke no rules. All that is being looked into.
I want to ask you about the latest allegations on Christmas parties. Did you and Carrie attend the Downing Street party that was organised by Martin Reynolds on the 20th of May?
All of that, as you know, is the subject of a proper investigation by Sue Gray.
So have you already been interviewed by Sue Gray, and if not, do you object to her questioning you again about this?
All that is subject for an interview, for an investigation by Sue Gray.
Now, interestingly, the BBC have interviewed people who worked with Boris Johnson under Boris Johnson's private secretary. This is what they've had to say.
His principal private secretary himself was organising. His staff were organising parties.
After witnessing all of that, I feel sorry for all of those who did sacrifice, for those who voted in this government, and for every Brit witnessing something akin to that of 1984. And it isn't just me showing sympathy. Sue Gray says something similar in the report. The challenges to key and frontline workers across the country who were working under equally, if not more, demanding conditions, often at risk to their own health. These included shopping, exercise, medical assistance, providing care to a vulnerable person, travelling to work if necessary, attending a funeral of a close family member or a friend, legal obligations, accessing critical public services such as childcare, education, social services, victim support, allowing children to move between separated parents, and moving house. This was announced to the public by the Prime Minister, and yet this is what the Prime Minister was doing according to the Sue Gray report. Now then, I'm going to make this a little bit more interesting. Every time you hear this sound and you see this image, it means Scotland Yard didn't investigate. And when you hear this sound, it means that that party received a fine from the police. 15th of May, a photograph you might be familiar with showing a number of people in the garden of number 10 Downing Street, including the Prime Minister. Scotland Yard didn't investigate this, but Sue Gray did, and she said, "The garden was also used for gatherings without clear authorisation or oversight. This was not appropriate." She also stated that the Prime Minister brought cheese and wine from his flat. The outdoor part of the meeting lasted for 40 minutes to an hour. They were then briefly joined by the Prime Minister's wife, during which the time of the photograph was taken. The Prime Minister remained in the garden till about 7 o'clock, 7:20. 20th of May 2020, there's another garden party in 10 Downing Street, and it's attended by number 10 staff. Interestingly though, there's a text from number 10 advisor warning the Prime Minister's secretary, Martin Reynolds. In the text it said, "Drinks this eve is a lovely idea, so I've shared it with the EMV team, who are in the office. Just a flag that the press conference will probably be finishing around that time, so helpful if people can be mindful of that as speakers and cameras are leaving, not walking around waving bottles of wine." 18th of June 2020, a fine is given for a gathering at the Cabinet Office for the departure of a private secretary. 19th of June, fines are given out for a gathering in the Cabinet Room for the Prime Minister's birthday. This is the party that the Prime Minister receives a fine. Now we go into the summer period, restrictions are eased, and most are removed by the 4th of July. But by the 5th of November, restrictions on movements and gatherings in England are essentially requiring people to stay at home again. Restrictions are on gatherings of 2 or more people, and it's applied throughout London. In fact, indoor mixing of 2 or more households was not permitted again until the 17th of May. Within days, there was another gathering on the 13th of November at Boris Johnson's Downing Street flat on the night Dominic Cummings was fired. Boris was joined by 5 advisors in a meeting with food and alcohol. On the same night, there was another gathering at 10 Downing Street for the departure of a special advisor. It was fined. Now, interestingly, the BBC managed to get a hold of someone who attended that party. Let's have a listen.
There was about 30 people, if not more, in a room. Everyone was stood shoulder to shoulder. Some people on each other's laps.
27th of November, a gathering was held for the departure of another special advisor. This time, Scotland Yard didn't investigate. 10th of December, a gathering was held by the Department of Education ahead of the Christmas break. Scotland Yard didn't investigate. 15th of December, a gathering is held at number 10 Downing Street for an online quiz. 17th of December, and 2 parties are held in the Cabinet Office, and both receive fines. But there was also another party at number 10 Downing Street. 18th of December, another party at 10 Downing Street, and a fine is issued. 14th of January, another party at 10 Downing Street for 2 private secretaries, another fine is issued. And finally, on the 16th of April, 2 more parties at 10 Downing Street, both are fined. And to be frank, that isn't the end of it, because Sue Gray also starts to realise there are other issues. In fact, there's even stuff connecting it to the Russia report, which we'll discuss in a little bit. Essentially, they've got a huge alcohol problem taking place in 10 Downing Street, and Sue Gray says, "The excessive consumption of alcohol is not appropriate in a professional workplace at any time. Steps must be taken to ensure that every government department has a clear and robust policy in place covering the consumption of alcohol in the workplace." She also brings up the treatment of staff, and let's face it, these guys generally look down upon the public as a bunch of sheep to control and nothing worth nothing more than the dirt on the bottom of their feet. But this is what Sue Gray had to say. "I found that some staff had witnessed or been subjected to behaviours at work which they had felt concerned about but at times felt unable to raise properly. I was made aware of multiple examples of a lack of respect and poor treatment of security and cleaning staff. This was unacceptable." And finally, how do we link this to the Russia report? The exact same issue that was brought up in the Russia report is brought up again inside 10 Downing Street and Sue Gray's report. "The leadership structures are fragmented and complicated, and this has sometimes led to blurring of lines of accountability. All in all, this has got to be one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life, and in the historical record I've not known any equivalency to this within Britain and Parliament. It's not to say corruption doesn't exist, but just on this level. On a more positive note, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who supports this channel, either Patreon or YouTube, and even if it's just something as simple as pressing that like button or subscribe button or making a comment, it all helps the channel expand. Thanks for listening, bye for now.